There was a time when the world looked to America as the ultimate destination for opportunity, stability, and a better life. From tech innovators to refugees seeking safety, students with dreams, and investors with capital, the U.S. stood like a beacon of hope. But that time is starting to fade. Quietly at first, then with a wave that's hard to ignore, countries around the world are turning their eyes elsewhere. That elsewhere is now Canada. This isn't just about politics or culture. It's about policy, trust, and the choices countries are making for their future. Immigration? Canada's more welcoming. Trade deals? Canada's easier to work with. Education, healthcare, public safety, even diplomacy. Country after country is choosing the maple leaf over the stars and stripes. It's not that the U.S. has collapsed. It hasn't. But the world is shifting. And in 2025, 10 countries have taken concrete steps that show they now prefer Canada over the United States. This is the story of why and what it means for America's future. Number 1. India. In 2025, India made headlines when its student population in Canada officially outpaced those in the United States. With over 430,000 Indian students enrolled in Canadian institutions, the preference is now impossible to ignore. Indian tech workers and entrepreneurs are also redirecting their eyes northward, not because the U.S. isn't an option, but because Canada is simply easier, safer, and more responsive. Canada offers permanent residency pathways that the U.S. still makes painfully complicated. In a post-COVID, post-Trump world, many Indian families are done waiting for H-1B lotteries or green cards that never arrive. They're choosing a country that respects timelines, offers healthcare, and lets families build a future without living in limbo. Trade is following suit. Canada and India are negotiating trade pacts with fewer barriers and more mutual respect. While Washington tries to play global sheriff, Ottawa is offering quiet cooperation, and for India, that's proving far more valuable. Number 2. Philippines. The Filipino diaspora is deeply connected to both Canada and the U.S., but in 2025, a new pattern emerged. More Filipinos are moving to Canada than to the United States, and the reasons go deeper than just visas. It's Canada's caregiver programs, its respect for Filipino nurses, and its easier family reunification process are winning hearts and reshaping migration routes. Families are choosing Canada not just for jobs, but for a better life. One where children can grow up with access to quality schools, and parents don't need to work multiple jobs to afford basic care. The Filipino government also signed new labor mobility agreements with Canada this year, streamlining work permits and recognizing credentials in fields like healthcare, skilled trades, and education. The U.S., meanwhile, is still bogged down in bureaucratic red tape and a rising tide of anti-immigrant sentiment. In places like Manila and Cebu, Canada is no longer just an option, it's the preferred destination, a place where dreams seem reachable and life feels dignified. Number 3. Mexico. U.S.-Mexico relations have always been complicated, but in 2025, Mexico deepened its ties with Canada in a way that raised eyebrows in Washington. Bilateral trade between Mexico and Canada is growing faster than ever before. Mexican agricultural producers, exporters, and students are finding more stability and opportunity through Canadian partnerships than with their northern neighbor. The violence and rhetoric at the U.S.-Mexico border has also pushed many middle-class Mexicans to look north, but not to Texas or Arizona, to Toronto and Vancouver. Canadian cities are seen as safer, more welcoming, and less volatile. The image of America as a land of opportunity has taken hits over the years, from family separations to migrant crackdowns to rising gun violence. Meanwhile, Canada is investing in cross-social programs, student exchanges, and business-friendly immigration. For many Mexicans, Canada now offers not just a better chance, but a better relationship. Number 4. Nigeria. In 2025, Nigeria's educated youth, the doctors, engineers, and startup founders, are bypassing America. Their eyes are on Canada, where immigration is faster, safer, and far less hostile. Canada recently launched new work-to-residency tracks specifically aimed at African talent. Nigerian applicants are not only welcomed, they're courted. The US, by contrast, has seen a spike in student visa rejections and job delays for African nationals. What does that mean on the ground? It means Nigerian families are pulling their kids out of SAT prep and enrolling them in programs focused on Canadian universities. It means Nigerian entrepreneurs are flying to Montreal instead of Miami. And it means Nigeria is choosing its new future with a partner that treats it with dignity. The trust that once bonded Nigeria and the US is cracking. Canada is stepping in and being embraced. Number 5. Brazil. Brazilian students, startups, and software engineers are going Canadian in 2025, and it's not just about immigration, it's about climate, trade, and diplomacy. Canada and Brazil are now working together on sustainable agriculture, clean energy projects, and tech collaborations. As the US struggles with protectionism and political instability, Canada is offering Latin America's biggest economy something it truly values: consistency. Even on a social level, young Brazilians report feeling more accepted in Canadian cities than in many US ones. Issues of racial profiling, gun violence, and institutional bias are steering people away from the American dream and toward the Canadian promise. Number 6. Vietnam. In Vietnam's classrooms and cafes, the US is still admired, but Canada is winning on the ground. Canada is now Vietnam's top destination for international students, with Vietnamese enrollment in Canadian colleges nearly doubling in 2 years. Part of the reason is cost. Canadian tuition is lower, but the deeper reason is trust. Canadian visa approval rates are higher, its education system is less political, and its cities feel safer. Vietnamese families are also investing in property in places like Calgary and Ottawa, setting down roots with confidence. The US isn't losing Vietnam's respect, but it is losing its edge. Number 7. South Africa. For decades, South Africans viewed the US as the ultimate ticket out, but now they're heading to Canada. White South African farmers, Black professionals, Indian tech workers, all are choosing Canada's more open immigration policies, better healthcare system, and lower rates of gun violence. They're looking at the US and seeing a country in cultural crisis, torn by partisanship and unpredictable policies. Canada, on the other hand, offers a quieter kind of promise, one built on social systems that work, and an openness that's not performative. It's real. South Africa is watching and choosing. Number 8. Bangladesh. Canada quietly overtook the US in 2025 as the top destination for Bangladeshi professionals and skilled workers. From garment industry leaders to IT engineers, the path to permanent residence in Canada is far less obstructed. Bangladeshi families in Dhaka and Chittagong are choosing a country that honors their work and doesn't force them into legal gray zones. In 2025, Bangladesh also entered into new bilateral labor agreements with Canada that fast-track skilled migration. The US missed that opportunity, and it's losing out on talent because of it. Number 9. Iran. Despite international tensions, Iranian students and professionals are quietly reshaping their future, and many are choosing Canada. US sanctions, visa rejections, and airport interrogations have pushed Iran's middle class to look elsewhere. And Canada is offering the welcome mat. Iranian students in particular find Canada's education system more accessible and less politicized. Even exiled professionals, doctors, engineers, researchers, are now more likely to land in Toronto than Los Angeles. In a world that's increasingly divided, Canada is becoming Iran's neutral ground. This isn't just about migration or trade, it's about perception. And perception is power. These 10 countries are telling a story not just with words but with actions. They're sending their people, their businesses, their students, and their partnerships to Canada instead of the United States. For the US, this shift should be a wake-up call. It's not too late to course correct. But in 2025, The world is clearly signaling who they trust more with their future. And that future, for now, is wrapped in red and white.